with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show that is here for a 6-game Thursday main slate starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, finishing up at 9 p.m. with the Houston and Phoenix game. No 10 p.m. games on tonight's slate. James, you were on the playbook. You had that out nice and early for everybody here today. Some injury news we're still waiting on. Feels like we haven't gotten a ton of overall clarity when it comes to the slate on that front, but what are you feeling on how things are turning out for us right now?
Yeah, not a lot of news throughout the day. The only rule out was Jonathan Isaac. That was nice and early. We got the Simmons news across the wire. Ben Simmons, that is. He's questionable. Paolo went through shoot around, but he went through shoot around the other day as well, and he did not play. So multiple second straight time. We'll try to run it back with Paolo with this illness. Jalen Green was a midday downgrade with an illness. We saw who was the midday downgrade yesterday that played. Everybody played it. I mean, until the late games. Then everybody didn't play, right? Like it was
every Pelican played.
Every Pelican. Zubats. It was Zubats. He was a midday illness who didn't play, and then I forget who it was that played, but someone played. No,
we got Norm out of the starting lineup. We had
Norm out of the starting lineup. No second legs of back-to-backs here on the main slate. That is Milwaukee, Golden State on the front end. No like insanely massive totals. We have only two, John, over 230 on the main slate. Like I kind of like this. And again, shout out to everyone for tuning in. And I said this for anyone not tuning into the preview show. Let's have a time tonight, everyone. Let's hold hands. Let's rejoice for this slate that we have. You know why, John? Because tonight, Thursday, February 29th, is, gosh darn it, the last night on DraftKings that there's late swap. Or at least for like one day.
What do we think? There's at least one slate.
One for one day, maybe.
Right. Friday's no late swap. Friday's no late swap. We don't know if they'll give us late swap again after that. If they start it as like 1 day a week is no late swap day, or if going forward we just have no late swap. Definitely appreciate you all tuning in here already. Coach Chris in the chat, Stacks in the chat, Toronto Dave already in the chat. What's up to all of you guys here? If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We're happy to answer them for you, talk through the slate, whether it is DFS or betting. If you have any questions for FanDuel versus DraftKings, we'll certainly help you out there. And of course, I know that all of you guys have already joined our game contest today over on Better Edge. Go to fantasyalarm.com/pick'emgames. Why don't you type the URL in the chat for everybody so they can just easily click as well. But you can also scan the QR code here on the screen. We have a pick six pick'em contest over on Better Edge right now. If you sign up and just confirm your account, no deposit required, they'll give you $10 free. So again, go to fantasyalarm.com/pick'em or scan the QR code here on the screen. Sign up, register your account, no credit card needed, and you'll get $10 free added to your account. And then you can go enter today's pick six pick'em contest there. Top 10 get paid. The more people who enter, the more money that goes into the pot. What do we got, James?
I beat you last night.
Yeah, I mean, you know what?
Just saying.
I've had some success in those contests this year. Can't win them all. That's fine. But we're going to be doing these every single day. So go to fantasyalarm.com/pick'em. Sign up over at Better Edge. Join our pick'em contest so you don't have to wait. Get that free $10 into your account so you can enter these and then win more money as you continue to play in these pick'em contests with us here. So check that out for tonight. The game, now I'm drawing a blank. What was
Miami
Nuggets.
Heat Nuggets.
Pick six for the Heat Nuggets game here tonight. You pick props, pick spreads, totals. You just got to get six right. Whoever's got the most right, top 10 get paid. So go ahead and check that out. Scan the QR code there on the screen or click the link that is in the chat there today. James, let's get into this slate here. Again, 6 games, what we're looking at. It could be a little bit of a quicker show, but that's fine. We're here to help you guys out and hopefully help you guys win your contest here tonight. Looking at game totals, looking at spreads, nothing like crazy jumping off the board here. We're used to having at least a few games of like 240 plus. We have a 238 OKC San Antonio, but that's with the Spurs getting 11 at home. We have a 231.5 in Phoenix Houston. Phoenix is giving 8.5 there. Those are the two highest game totals on the board. Milwaukee, Charlotte's at 218 with the Hornets, 12-point home underdogs. All three games these two teams have played this year, Milwaukee has won by 30 or more actual points. So, we'll see if Charlotte can hang this time around. Utah, Orlando, that's at a 6.5-point spread at 225 total there. Atlanta, Brooklyn, 222 down from 227 on the open. Not a great sign there. 1.5-point spread in that one. And then we have Golden State, New York, 222 total. That one is at a 4.5-point spread. The Knicks home underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some interesting things on this slate, despite the totals. Like, obviously, OKC San Antonio has caught my eye right away. What caught my eye the most is it's been two blowouts. SGA has torched them twice. Trey Jones did not play in either of those games. And you and I have talked about Trey Jones' impact since like entering the starting lineup for San Antonio. They've been a far better team with Trey Jones as the starter. So I do think that that game could stay competitive, and you'll hear that in my in my breakdown or in our breakdown, because I have a lot of exposure to that game tonight, like full game stack exposure to that.
OKC
game.
San Antonio,
just completely banking on San Antonio.
Wemby is the cover of our live stream here today, so that obviously makes a little sense there. Let's get into the positional breakdowns here, starting off at point guard. That game, SGA 10-7 going up against San Antonio. He is he's averaging 28 minutes a game in the two games, averaging 58 fantasy points in those two games as well. So having no trouble here against San Antonio in their two matchups. I don't foresee that stopping here tonight. If you're stacking this one, I have to imagine you're starting SGA Wemby and kind of building around with the value, or what are you doing here today?
I mean, look, absolutely no issue getting to SGA. No problem getting there. I don't think it's impossible to do SGA Wemby. That's not the route that I went to make it comfortable. I went a different direction. I have more on the San Antonio side to begin with. So I went double rookie in my lineup, if that's a little teaser for what's to come. But yeah, obviously no problem getting SGA. Again, there was no Trey Jones in either of those games, so maybe that makes a little bit of a difference here. He has been obviously a rock for San Antonio and has kept them more competitive. So, no problem getting SGA. I think the point guard tier in general is, or the top tier is strong if you don't want to get all the way up to it.
Sure. I mean, we'd like to know if Brunson's going to be in or out tonight, right? Obviously, Brunson, $9,600. If he's out, I mean, the Knicks offense changes. The way we approach the Knicks offense changes here. It's a really good game. This is one of actually my favorite games to stack, kind of no matter really who's involved. I think there's some fun pieces in this one here. You have Steph Curry, 95, DeJounte Murray at 94, Booker at 92 is your 9K tier. DeJounte's obviously been great. 11 assists in both of the games without Trae Young, 50 fantasy points in two of the last three. If there's no Ben Simmons, obviously that helps, not having to deal with that sort of defensive presence for them. How are you prioritizing, I guess, the 9K guards here after you get below SGA?
I like all of them, truthfully. I like Brunson a lot. If he plays, he has been so good.
Brunson's in. If you had to pick one of the four 9K guards, who do you go?
One of the four, Brunson.
Okay.
It's really close between him and Murray. Devin Booker's had an issue with Dillon Brooks this year. And we've seen, conversely, Kevin Durant's had fantastic games. And I'm not saying Devin Booker can't have a good game against anybody, right? But I don't hate Devin Booker, but I prefer Brunson team to himself, 40 plus minutes guaranteed.
Sure.
And then DeJounte, who we kind of talked about on the show this morning, bad shooting night, like really bad shooting night, 37% from the floor. Still had 44 fantasy points in only 32 minutes because of the blowout. And he had played 39 in a 17-point win the game before. So if we get DeJounte 6 or 5 to 7 more minutes in that game, I mean, it's another third straight 50 fantasy point game. I think Curry's last, but we know he has a ceiling. I think that's, we don't need to tell you that Steph Curry has a ceiling.
Right.
And obviously Devin Booker has a ceiling as well, but just it's more Brunson Murray than next two for me.
Sure. I'm with you there. I think those are the two I'd pick in that group as well. Liking what DeJounte's doing, love what we know Brunson can be against Golden State. So all in on that one. When we get to the mid tier, our guy Chris is saying he's had a lot of Fred VanVleet here tonight. Obviously, Vassell's in that group, VanVleet, Lillard in that potential blowout matchup. If Jalen Green is out, Amen Thompson probably becomes a bit more appealing here, right? So where are you with the mid-tier guards?
I don't have the same. I have a different opinion on VanVleet. Like the price is great. We know he has an insane ceiling, right? Like we've seen it all year. We've tried to peg Fred VanVleet games all the time, and we're like, all right, well, 26 fantasy points tonight, 73 the next night. Like, good luck. But like, although the minutes were there, I mean, where did the assists go that were there, right? Where did the consistency? Where did that consistency go? And he's not rebounding the basketball really. I mean, coming off one rebound, the steals are fine, but man,
how about this? He only has a 21% usage rate without Jalen Green and Tari Eason on the floor. Like that's bad. That's bad for what you think for Fred VanVleet.
I also don't think it helps. Like if Amen Thompson's in the lineup, I mean, Amen Thompson is around the ball 24/7.
Yeah.
Too. Like you're saying that's with Jalen Green or without Jalen Green?
Without Jalen Green on the floor this year, and Tari Eason for them, because we know what Eason can be when he's on the floor. VanVleet only a 21% usage rate. Amen Thompson's only a 20% for that fact as well. It's actually Cam Whitmore with a 29.5% usage rate.
That makes sense.
Which makes sense because he's a scorer. And then Şengün is a 30%, but he's kind of around there no matter who's on the floor. So.
Yeah, because the offense, no matter what, he's the hub. Like
yeah. So I mean, if Jalen Green is out, if they were to like plug in, I imagine they would plug in Amen Thompson, but Cam Whitmore would be a very good play tonight, just given the usage rate there.
I also think, like, we talked about it on the show last night, the emergence of Jabari Smith since the break, right? Like, that doesn't help VanVleet either. Jabari Smith has 3 straight double-doubles of 18-plus points and 15-plus shots. Like, the offense flows through Şengün. If Jabari Smith is also going to be the guy, and we know, like VanVleet, although he's solid and has ceilings, it's a tournament play only for me. It's not something that I'm like really clamoring about. Like I'd rather probably play Vassell 7,100. He's been awesome outside of one game really lately.
I mean, I've been talking up Vassell since 6K, right? I mean, the minute because once we got the realization that they weren't going to limit him anymore, because early season pop was a nightmare. These guys were he wasn't even starting all the time. He was coming off the bench. He was going to he got the Keldon treatment, right? And earned his way into the starting lineup, and they stuck him in the starting lineup, and he's been great. I'm with you. Obviously, $7,100 more expensive than he's really been all year, but I mean the shots, the production, the ability to fill up the stat sheet. Definitely liking some Devin Vassell here. As we work our way down, I mean, there's Keontae George, there's Chris Paul, there's Trey Mann, Dennis Schroeder. I know is somebody that you are high on here today, and our guy Faisal mentioning Terrence Mann and Schroeder. Terrence Mann was yesterday, came through for us with the points, loved it. Got Mann here tonight with Schroeder. As some value guys down here.
That's because he heard you call him Terrence Mann on the podcast this morning. Yeah, I mean,
and then obviously you like Trey Jones, so
yeah. I mean, look, Trey Mann, we talked about it. He's obviously the starter, and he's had some really good games. He also closed in a 40-point loss. So what does that say about Trey Mann's outlook? I don't know.
in the competitive game, he actually doesn't play.
Does not close. Yeah, does not close. Starts, does not close, and then in a competitive or non-competitive game, plays the whole fourth quarter, 40-point loss.
Paolo Banchero remains a game time decision. Thanks. Cool. Thanks for that. Great. Supposedly he's supposed to go through warm-ups, and they're going to see how he feels.
Yes. Well, And he went through shoot around the other day and then didn't play. And it was the same thing.
It is at least a 7:00 game, so we'll have that in.
Well, yeah, we'll have that information nice and early. I definitely like Dennis Schroeder. He also made the NBA DFS playbook over on fantasyalarm.com today. The minutes have been pretty solid. Was trending for 30 minutes. Didn't play the final 10 minutes of that Orlando game because of the blowout. So, you have to assume close to 30 minutes. If Ben Simmons' downgrade doesn't hurt the Dennis Schroeder minutes at all, I'll be a little picky. He didn't close the first half. Dennis Smith played the final 4 minutes, but like Schroeder also played the first 8 minutes of the second quarter. Sorry.
Yep.
So, just being a little picky there. But I still think Schroeder's going to play 30. And again, if you want to stack this game, I think Trey Jones makes a lot of sense. Low volume shooter, no doubt. And that's a little scary. But the peripheral stats are great. The assists, the rebounds, chips and a steal per game. And if you get the scoring, obviously that's a big boost, and that's where you get the ceiling. So
sure. Say Jalen Brunson is out. You have McBride here. Say Banchero's out. You have Anthony. You have Schroeder. You have Mann. You have Jones. Does McBride rank above those guys for you?
Probably has to with the minutes. I mean, he played the first 16 minutes of the game the other night. And if he made any shots, maybe he attempts to just take off the floor. So, he didn't have a good first half. He basically did all that fantasy stuff in the second half, which, they had us in the first half, John.
Yeah.
But it's probably McBride one, just given minutes are king, right?
Yeah.
Without minutes, you can't accrue fantasy points. So.
Cannot accrue That's true. Shots and minutes. Those are the two things you need.
I mean,
shots and minutes.
Are the shots a little on the skeptical, sketchy side for McBride sometimes? But 11 shots in 40 minutes, he went through for 11. Maybe if he goes if he makes the first couple, maybe he takes 14 shots. Maybe he's feeling himself.
Also, to that, he took 11 shots. 7 of them were from 3. So
I know. True.
Even better, right? Like your volume 3-point shooter. Live for 5 is what I like to say. I got to brand that somehow.
That is. Ooh, I like that. Ooh,
right? Live for 5. So, again, we like Cole Anthony too. If there's no Paolo Banchero, got 26, 30 minutes the last 2 games. Probably would have played 30 if it wasn't for the 20-point blowout here against Brooklyn. We know he can score. We can fill up the stat sheet a little bit here. They need offense. I mean, I know they have guys that can score outside of Franz Wagner, but Cole Anthony with the usage right there without Banchero is a pretty big play for them. So I wouldn't mind throwing him into some tournaments tonight against Utah.
So to be fair, and this is why I've come back a little bit on Cole.
Okay.
He actually closed the final 15 minutes of that last game.
Okay.
He only played 9 first half minutes.
Was the game prior to that no Fultz?
The game prior to that, I believe, was no Fultz in Atlanta because they played a back-to-back. No, he did. Fultz played 12 minutes. He then played 25 in the Brooklyn game. So that's where I'm a little on the fence about it, right? I don't love he didn't check in the third quarter, John, until the 3-minute mark.
Sure.
Right? So he didn't play for the first 9 minutes, which is actually his typical first half rotation.
I was gonna say, isn't that sort of what his rotation is? So,
but he only played 6 minutes of the second quarter, so he played 9 first half minutes. If you're again, if that's something that and he's always live to play more if he gets going offensively.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, at 4,700, we have to have the 25 minutes, right? You would have to have the 25.
I agree. Anybody else on your point guard for you?
Andrew's asking about Kobe Buffkin. I'm not really. So, the Buffkin minutes, he's going to play. They'd released Patty Mills officially today. He's not on the team. I'm personally not playing Kobe Buffkin. He played 21 minutes because of the blowout. So, I'll pass there. But.
Okay. Anybody else?
No.
Shooting guard. Again, talk Booker a little bit already. DiVincenzo's at $7,500. Mikal Bridges, $7K. What's the mid tier?
So the ownership, what do you make of the Bridges ownership? Because you and I talked about Bridges yesterday.
I mean,
he's 26% rostered.
I mean, there's no Cam Thomas. Now maybe no Ben Simmons.
He's the highest projected. Right. He's the highest projected shooting guard of the day, and it's really not close.
Yeah.
And I get it. But like we haven't seen a ceiling since like early February, and that ceiling was 6x. So I shouldn't even say ceiling, right? It was like 6x was
Hmm.
since in all of February. That's his high water mark.
Right. I mean,
I obviously
the
it's a different
shot attempts are
situation.
there though. He's just missing.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's like efficiently being inefficient, right? He's just taking 21 shots and going 1 for 11, 1 for 7, 0 for 7. So the ceiling is certainly there if the shot attempts just fall. All these road games, what I pointed out to you last night or this morning on the pre-show, now they're back home. Boston, Toronto, Minnesota, Memphis, Orlando, a couple of those teams are pretty damn tough to play against.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful in can trust in a bounce back here if that shot volume is going to be there.
Like, what do you make of this? Okay. No Simmons, Thomas, Royce O'Neal, Spencer Dinwiddie on the floor. Okay.
Sure.
100-minute sample. Tell me what you think of this. 100 minutes. That's a fine sample, right? It's
Sure.
a decent sample. So 24% usage rate. I think that's more than fine.
Yep.
0.73 fantasy points per minute.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Who's scoring all the fantasy points?
I mean, nobody.
All right then.
Without those guys. I mean, Dennis Smith 0.9, Lonnie Walker 1, Schroeder 8.85, Claxton 0.76.
Yeah, so
Johnson,
it's not like
0.74.
anybody's really blowing out of the water there. So
I know.
I mean,
I'm
the
just
Nets actually. I mean, we know this. The Nets aren't even really a good offensive team. So
right, which is my. I think the like, in theory, you're like, oh, it's Atlanta, should be great spot. They've also scored less than or 93 or fewer points in 4 of 5 games, and you said there was like tough matchups in there, but 93 points against Toronto. I don't know. I'm a little.
Yeah.
I'm just discouraged by Bridges. If he beats me, I get it. You know, hat tip. He's in the player grid, but I don't have him as a core play tonight. As much as the field is listing him as a core play.
Okay. Again, for me, it's more volume. I mean, the dude's taking a ton of shots. If they just drop in what should be an easier spot for him at home, you know, the upside I think is certainly there for him. Sexton's at 67. We don't really like playing much of going up against Orlando all that much. Smaller player pool because it's only a 6-game slate here. So you got Miller in that below game against Milwaukee. You have Bogdan rather against Brooklyn. Klay Thompson we talked about. Jordan Clarkson against Orlando as well. Pod. Like, do you have much interest in this mid-tier of shooting guards?
Not really. Vassell, Bridges, Utah guys in tournaments, Bogdanovich in cash, $6,400. It's probably too expensive for tournaments for me, but 30 plus fantasy points in 3 straight games, 33 and 36 minutes have been great for him. Podziemski, I'm kind of out on. I know Moody's going to start, so I don't know. Podziemski, 28 minutes in that Washington game. That's probably where he sits with Chris Paul back. I'm okay not going to a 5,800 Podziemski. Grayson Allen, 57, I think is too expensive if Beal and Nurkic are back, which Nurkic is probable, so likely he's back. I think Klay is interesting in tournaments, like where Podziemski doesn't have the ceiling of scoring that Klay does coming off the bench. Where like in 27 minutes, I'm okay getting to Klay if he's going to take 16 shots and go 6 for 11 from 3, because you're like, holy smokes, like we know there's no Wiggins. He's obviously going to take a lot of those minutes, so I'm okay like a 1% Klay Thompson in tournaments, but I think
this morning as well. Like it's probably a good thing for him to be able to play with Chris Paul.
Yes.
Right. A guy who's one of the better setup men in the NBA still, one of the last of the old guard of true point guards here. And, now Klay Thompson gets to actually play with him and no Steph on the floor at times for that situation as well. So, I agree with you. I don't mind taking some dart throws here on Klay Thompson tonight, knowing that he's going to get to play with Chris Paul there. So, what other shooting guards, though? Again, this position runs out quick. Dylan Brooks gets a pretty big bump if Jalen Green's off the floor. $4,400 for him. We talked Cam Whitmore is actually the big usage rate guy there at $4,300. Lonnie Walker got 20 plus minutes. Moody's down here at $3,800. Like if Banchero's out again, like I guess Caleb Houston probably gets a look again. Like, where are you with the value shooting guard group?
I'm really not. There's not a lot to like. The field likes Cody Martin, and I don't really understand that, especially if this, is going to be a blowout. The Houston guys are fine if there's no Jalen Green for sure. But I think both you and I would agree we need Jalen Green out to like have much confidence in either. Lonnie Walker's getting some ownership. Didn't love the minutes in that game without Simmons, even in the blowout. Like he played all the blowout run, which not great to see. Because that means if this game's not a blowout, is Lonnie Walker gonna get extended?
Yeah.
I also pulled back a little bit on the Moody thing that we talked about. I mean, not to say he can't have like another performance like he did the other day. It's just different. He was 3K, right? He was stone cold min.
Yep.
And he played 23 minutes, didn't play the final 10. He checked in with like a minute left, hit a 3, got a steal with like 40 seconds left, right?
Sure.
Gets you to 22 fantasy points, like legacy 22 fantasy points because of a 3 and a steal. But he didn't
he doesn't profile someone that will close, right? Like
does not close. Did not play the final 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, dude, is he closing over Chris Paul? No. Is he closing over Podziemski? No. Is he going to close potentially if Klay has it going? Like, there's no like, there's a lot. There's like 4 injuries. They all need to run into each other for Moses Moody to like close over people. So 3,800, I'm not like totally. I would rather, truthfully, it's someone I talked to you about on last night's stream, just play a Malachi Branham in that spot. Like for $400 cheaper, he's taking as many shots as Moses Moody. He's probably going to play as many minutes as Moses Moody. So I would rather get to him over Moody personally.
Okay. Moving on over to small forward here. Again, the guys we discussed, Miles Bridges.
Ben Simmons
in
out.
Ooh.
So perfect. Let's just start here. Small forward. Highest rostered player of the slate. Did you see it?
Nope.
Cam Johnson.
Okay.
Who's now a power forward only on DraftKings. But he's also a small forward on FanDuel. He's like 50% rostered on FanDuel at 5,100.
You got what, 30 minutes the other night? I looked at his 3-point prop today. It was like 2.5. He hasn't been very good shooting the basketball.
I know, and that's literally his calling.
Yeah.
Brooklyn's just been underwhelming, right? Let's just flat out say it. They're probably the most disappointing team in the NBA this year.
Yep. Giannis officially in, not that we were, I don't think, too concerned about that.
No, he's been probable like 27 consecutive slates.
Yep.
I mean, the Simmons news solidifies the shooter minutes for sure. Like solidified, book that, like should be somewhere close to 30. Obviously Bridges. We're gonna just see the same starting lineup, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Schroeder, Bridges, Johnson, Finney-Smith, Claxton. That's your starting 5. Lonnie Walker, 6-man. Dennis Smith, 7th. Jalen Wilson, 8.
Yeah, so he played some minutes in that game. So.
And probably Daron Sharp, 9. That's probably
nothing really fantasy relevant there.
I mean, it's Atlanta, so we're gonna. Do you think like you're saying like the backups?
Yeah. I do like Lonnie Walker. I mean, the man went 1 for 9. I mean, if a guy that if he hits shots, maybe they're more apt to leave him on the floor.
Yeah. And
if Atlanta starts running on them, like they're going to need offense out there. They're not going to be playing defense. So,
yeah.
So I think Lonnie's still a guy that we can take a peek at. At small forward, Miles Bridges is 82. Laurie under 8K now at $7,700. Franz Wagner. I kind of like playing him even if Paolo's in. Obviously, if Paolo's out, a lot of people are going to end up playing Franz Wagner tonight. I actually think I would almost prefer Paolo to be in and hope it keeps some ownership off of Wagner tonight.
Yeah, I don't hate that thought. I wrote Franz and Paolo up in the same section of the playbook today. I just listed them together because I think it is a good thought. Like Franz has 50 in games, like plenty of 50s that Paolo's played. Like that, having another star doesn't hurt you because they take a lot of attention off you, right? Like Franz isn't going to get doubled in games that Paolo's there. Paolo has a 30% usage rate. He's their all-star. It's only makes things easier for Franz. So yeah, I like Franz either way. News, nothing for Friday. Yeah, it's a great spot. Utah's the worst team in basketball in the month of February in terms of defense, and they're also top 10 in pace. So no issues whatsoever getting to Franz Wagner in any capacity.
Yep, I'm with you. Working our way into the mid-tier range. I mean, again, if there's no Brunson, like DDV, Josh Hart, both guys that I think get boosted. Where are you at Hart if like Hartenstein's back, which we expect? Like,
He's off the injury report. He's fully off.
Yeah. Do you think that he can keep rebounding this way with Achua and Hartenstein playing 40 minutes? Or do you like
probably? Okay. He's just a dog. He's just that, right? Like he's been that. He's been everywhere. Like
I feel like somebody's rebounds have to take a hit. They can't have 3 guys with like 14 rebounds.
Well, you've always you have for 1,000 years, every single Josh Hart slate ever. Your analysis has not changed because it doesn't need change.
Doesn't need.
Like he is going to crash the glass.
Yep.
And if he makes shots, there is a ceiling. Period. That's just what Josh Hart is. Like that's what he's doing now. And again, he's playing 40 minutes. Like Hartenstein being back doesn't hurt Hart. You know, he's going to play 40. So I still think the rebounds are there. The scoring since the break, he's come out and scored 15 plus in 4 straight games, and they've needed it. And I think that doesn't change with Brunson out potentially too. So
yep. If Brunson's in, how do you view those guys though at over 7K?
I mean, he went for 49 fantasy points with Brunson against Detroit. It wasn't like, he broke the slate. You had to have him in that game. Yeah. So, again, it's another situation. Brunson takes a lot of the burden off everybody else. So Josh Hart can sit back and actually make 3 threes because he's uncontested because Jalen Brunson has 4 Golden State guys around him.
Yep. You have DeAndre Hunter written up, $5,500. I like him and Saddiq Bey tonight. I actually have the over 1.5 threes for Bey in this spot against Brooklyn tonight. So I think both are in good spots. We know DeAndre Hunter, the scoring's really been strong suit. Would like to see a bit more of the peripheral stats, like the rebounding 5.75 has been good. If we can get that consistent across the board here, I think we can set a nice little floor for him.
Yeah, I mean, you have the advantage to playing Bey is that he starts and he plays 30 plus. Hunter just needs to get to that 30-minute threshold because he just like 28, just max. Like Quinn Snyder's like, guys, what is he at? 27.6? Okay, let's get him out. Like what? But how do you not look at the minutes that he's playing and be like, wow, we need to find him more? Because the last 5 games, 18 plus points in each of them. He's getting to the foul line and making everything. He's hitting threes. I'll say the rebounds have probably been the best, been pretty consistent outside of the 1 game in Charlotte over his last 5. Everything else is very inconsistent. Doesn't really block shots, doesn't really get steals. The assists are non-existent. You're lucky to get the 2 assist games. But 28 plus fantasy points in 5 straight games, and in the games that he's kind of been extended, right? Since he started getting extended to this number, it's been super.
Do you think he's at risk at all of losing minutes if Capella continues to get extended? Because then they don't go Jalen at the 5.
No, because they've been playing Bruno Fernando at the 5 too. I think that what Atlanta has is where we've seen some things. They have a 3-man forward rotation where they can all slot in at Hunter and Bey can play small forward and power forward, right? So when Johnson comes off the floor for let's say he comes out, Hunter comes in. Johnson can come back in for Saddiq Bey and DeAndre Hunter just shifts back to the 3, right? They're very interchangeable in that forward room. So it's not a bad thought. You just can't there's just no way you can look at what DeAndre Hunter's doing and be like, this is the guy that's going to lose time.
Sure. I agree. No, I agree with you. I think obviously Jalen Johnson's success has hurt Hunter a little bit because
that's
he's now the backup basically to the wings there.
He got hurt and then just Sadiq Bey played so well, he just never got to get his
Yeah,
shot back.
they never really lost the job there. So, and the thing is, like, production wise, obviously, you're getting a little bit better points out of Hunter lately. Rebounding, they've probably been around the same. I mean, maybe Bay's just been a better 3-point shooter. I mean, maybe he's a better overall defender, like on ball defender guy, but they're sort of interchangeable there. You do have Klay in the middle. You talked about him at shooting guard. Keldon, we went at length about Kellin Johnson last night. Why don't we inform the people here what we like about Kellin Johnson tonight?
Yeah, that has not changed one bit. I am full stamp of approval, Kellin Johnson, John, tonight.
Okay.
So like I looked, okay? Before January 22nd, how many times do you think Kellin Johnson was priced below $6,000?
Once.
So 0.
Okay.
From the start of the year till January 22nd. So almost like a month, a month ago, right? Obviously, his role has changed since the beginning of the year. He comes off the bench. He's been benched and played 4 minutes recently. But then he responds and plays 34 minutes, 17 shots, almost 37 DraftKings points. And I think what we're seeing is like Pop has done this a couple times this year where he's benched players and they've responded correctly. And he's talked about it a lot, how bad they've been, right? And how like much teaching he has to do to this team. Like, it's not just like, this is the offense, go do it. It's like, why we're doing this. This is what we set up to set something else up. And out of the break, Kellin Johnson minutes, which were getting sketchy, 31, 29, the benching, 34. The shot attempts, 12, 9, 17, which not great in the 9 game against the Lakers. Still got to the line 4 times. But he's been over 30 fantasy points in 2 of the 4 since coming out of the break. And again, like, the bench hasn't been bad for him. As a starter this year, he had a 21% usage rate. As a reserve, he has a 24% usage rate. So, like, getting to play without Wemby all the time and without Vassell all the time probably doesn't hurt Kellin Johnson all that much. And, like, you also, with Kellin Johnson, aren't going to see the Lou Dort defense in that first unit. Like, you will, I'm sure, at times. Yeah. But he doesn't have to worry about it in the second unit. So,
Caro in, by the way.
Okay. Well, we'll get to power forward shortly. It's a very good spot for Paolo. But just wrapping up, I have Kellin Johnson as a core play tonight at 4,900. He's about 14% projected upon let's see if we got an update recently. We have not. So 14% per last update. I want as much Kellin Johnson in tournaments as I can. I've told you, this game is 238, and I'm banking on it staying close. Kelvin's only played in 1 of the 2. Trey Jones hasn't played in either of them. Like, yeah, the Thunder blew him out twice, but like kind of a different Spurs team, right? Yeah. When you don't have Kellin Johnson.
And Wemby has the ability to keep a team in a game. So,
dude, and 34 minutes for Wemby last time out, right? So, like, what does that 6 extra minutes for Wemby look like now? Right. So, I love Kellin Johnson 4,900.
Okay. Any value small forwards here on your radar? Again, smaller depth down here. So,
I mean, I would classify Keldon as a value. Sure. If Beal doesn't play, if Beal doesn't play, like and Gordon doesn't play, I assume Royce O'Neal would start. He's fine for like 3-and-D guy. We could play the Houston guys. You mentioned Lonnie Walker's in play. Can't really get to anything else down
here. Okay. Power forward then here. You mentioned it's a loaded position. You have Giannis at 11-3. I did maybe the unthinkable. I took the under points for Giannis here today, 27.5.
Because you don't think they're going to play 4 quarters.
He hasn't played more than like 25 minutes, I think it was, like any of those games. And actually, it's a sub pattern for me. With the way Giannis gets subbed in and out of those games in the second half, there's a chance like he just doesn't get back into this game in the fourth quarter because he gets subbed out at the end of the third, with a couple of minutes to go. Yep. And then he doesn't sub back in until like the 8-minute mark of the fourth, aka in these games, he gets subbed out and never comes back in. So
puts the whole jumpsuit on and says, Thanasis, get out there.
Exactly. Hey, and Antetokounmpo does get in the game.
He does.
It's not Giannis. So I did take the under. We talked about this the last time these two teams played, about the risks of playing Giannis at 11-5, and 24 minutes, 24 points is great. It's great. You just got 24 minutes. And now they're on the front leg of a back-to-back here as well. Like, if this game is even close to being what it's been, they have no reason to play Giannis any more than they have to into that third quarter rotation. So I don't want to pay the 11-3, won't pay the 11-3. I know you're in on Wemby, obviously 10-1. You've talked a lot about the Spurs.
What do you say like that for?
It's just we just know it is.
What did you say
Prince,
like that for?
happy to have you in the show here today.
Maybe I wasn't in on Wemby.
KD at 97, Banchero now in at 84, Jalen Johnson's at 81. Jalen Williams is one of the highest rostered players on the slate tonight. You mentioned power forward being loaded. Break it down for us.
It's freaking loaded. I mean, it's loaded. Thankfully, you could play Wemby at power forward or at center.
Yep.
He's obviously elite with 34 minutes. Wow. Dez and Prince coming in here pretty late. Late, guy. Look at my watch. It's a little late. So Durant has had a lot of success in this Houston matchup. He has not faced the Dillon Brooks defense, obviously, in the two games that Devin Booker struggled in. 67 fantasy points. That's fine. Not on the main slate, though. And not on the FanDuel main slate either. So no worries, Des. Being late, we're all late. Listen, after my first child was born, I don't think I've been to one thing on time, personally. Maybe, I didn't even have kids. I was going to say your wedding. I got to your wedding on time, John, but yeah. I didn't have kids. They were left back in the hotel.
Sure.
So, back to the slate. Durant's had a lot of success, obviously, against Houston with Devin Booker getting the Dillon Brooks assignment. He's almost triple-doubled against them twice. One triple-double, one double-double. So I'm definitely good with getting to Durant. I think Paolo, barring no limitations, which I don't think it's necessarily like a thing. He probably shouldn't be unless, he's been so sick that he hasn't really had any ability to get any cardio in. Mm-hmm. Paolo's in a great spot, obviously. Jalen Johnson, he's the cover of my playbook today. He's been flat out amazing the last two games, both without Trey Young. And I liked how him and Trey Young correlated earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I like how him and DeJounte Murray correlate. 39 and 35 minutes. The rebounds have been tremendous. 4 straight double-doubles and 2 straight games of 20-point double-doubles. Even with Capella's minutes getting extended last game, John. I mean, Capella played 25 minutes last game. 13 rebounds for each Jalen Johnson and Clint Capella. Like, both guys ate on the glass.
I nabbed the Capella over 10.5 rebounds today.
It's a good number. It's a great number.
Yeah, I mean, if he's played in Brooklyn twice. He's played 27 and 29 minutes in those two games. I think there's a chance he gets there, that minute level without Agonku in the game. And he's got 15 and 12 rebounds in those two games. So I think Capella could be in a really good spot for reboundings. But to your point, Jalen Johnson here, just monster minutes, allowing him to just be a stat accumulator. I'm not worried about the Dorian Finney-Smith matchup on him. Again, I know DFS is a good perimeter defender and all that, but that's not really Jalen Johnson's game. So I'm not too concerned about that one. And on the flip side, DFS isn't going to put Johnson in any sort of foul trouble. So even less concerned there. If like Ben Simmons was active, I would have been, I don't know, but no, I'm good going with Jalen Johnson there. And then Jalen Williams as well. Part of the game staff. We talked Jabari, the way he's been going off lately. Now his numbers without Jalen Green and Tari Eason are also bad. Only an 18% usage rate, but current form, tougher opponent. He even already faced this team, a couple of games ago, went for 55. So you kind of ride the hot hand. We know the talent's there. We've seen this with Jalen Green earlier in the year. These guys just like have hot stretches where it's like, oh, this is why they were a top 2 pick. Makes sense now.
Yeah. Obviously things are a little easier for Jabari without Jalen Green, but he's been putting these numbers up with Jalen Green too. So no real problem getting to 6,800 Jabari Smith.
I agree. Anybody else in this mid-tier range?
No one else like in the mid-tier necessarily. I would say, the main talking points are probably like, what do we do with Cam Johnson at 49 because he's so popular? I just like the production just hasn't been there. You talked about it, But if he does make shots, there's obviously like a ceiling at 4,900 because he was trending to play mid-30s minutes. They just got, they were involved in a blowout and he never saw the floor in the fourth quarter. So Cam Johnson at 49 is at least interesting with the Simmons and Cam Thomas injuries. So is Taylor Hendricks, $4,400. 29 minutes were great. He's played 26, 26, 29 minutes in the 3 games since entering the starting lineup, 2 of which he's almost double-doubled. He's a very good rebounder. He's a very good floor spacer, too. He's taken 4, 5, and 5 threes in his 3 starts, which I think is interesting because, that's not bad. You're getting potentially like solid 3-point volume from your power forward at $4,400. If he double doubles, you're talking about a guy who's going for 30 fantasy points in 2 of those last 3. And obviously Walker Kessler being questionable doesn't hurt Taylor Hendricks' potential run to be extended as you flash John Collins on the screen. Dorian Finney-Smith, fine as well as like a last piece in.
Sure. Center position here. We did have a question. Walker Kessler officially ruled out on Q. Walker Kessler ruled out.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Travis wants to know our thoughts on Wendell Carter. He is starting at center tonight. Obviously, Paolo is back. Any interest in Carter here in the spot against Utah?
It's very hard to get a pulse on the center room in general. Some games he plays 22, some games he plays 34. He had a good game against Utah earlier in the year. It doesn't hurt no Walker Kessler to defend him in this game. So John Collins is your primary center with possibly Yurtseven, possibly Taylor Hendricks as your like backup centers. So like in theory, good matchup overall. Just the minutes are just very hard to predict. So nothing more than a tournament play. The price is great, but like since we're right there at 5,400, I liked what I saw to Clint Capella at 53, 17 to 25 minutes. Popcorn Machine doesn't have it updated. So Add More Funds is another site that, we can track like rotations and stuff.
Yep.
He lost 2 minutes to the blowout, right? So he played in the fourth quarter, didn't play the last 2 minutes. You have to assume in a competitive game, he plays that. That's 27 minutes. So like, if Clint Capella's playing 27 minutes, he has no business being 5,300. We said it last night. He has no business being 5,300 at 25 minutes when Onyeka Okongwu is not there. So,
he's averaging 30 fantasy points per game this year while only averaging 25 minutes a night. So, Jalen Brunson on track to play this evening, everybody. So, look at that for your Knicks lineups there. Obviously, DDV maybe a little bit too expensive at $7,500 or wherever, 73, 75, wherever he is at that price point. But Brunson being back certainly helps that game, I think. DraftKings tonight, their 3-point promo is $2 per 3-pointer made. I did the first 3-pointer in that game for Dante DiVincenzo, but also I get $2 for 3 made in that game. Feel a lot better with Brunson being active. Hartenstein will play as we knew as well. So speaking of Hartenstein, he is 6K. Would you run Hartenstein out there?
I mean, you and I talked about this, based on the trend, he probably gets somewhere near 30 minutes. I think they need to be a little more cautious with him and not like extend him to like high 30s and then the Achilles blows again. And then if that Achilles goes one more time, it's probably just like fully goes, right? Like he just tears it. And so I'm okay with it. I'd rather just save. This is a situation where I think center is probably the worst position on the board. Thankfully, you could play Wemby there. I love Chet at 7,900. I love the minutes for Chet. If anyone else, like even remotely, like I'm looking at him like, I'd rather just kind of, play, like name this center. Like I'd rather just play Capella over this center. So the only other name I'd really throw out there is I loved the 37 minutes out of Yusuf Nurkic the last time out. Loved him. 37 minutes is like a lot of minutes. With Şengün on the other side, there's obviously foul trouble, but it also makes you wonder if there what route they're going to take. Do they try to like take Şengün off the floor by going small?
Yeah.
Or if Şengün's just punishing them, do they keep Nurkic on the floor to defend? Because if anytime Nurkic gets mid to high 30s minutes, he's a smash, right? Like it's just so keep that in mind as well.
Travis, to address your question here, Brunson doesn't really hurt Bojan's minutes. What's going to potentially hurt Bojan's minutes is Hartenstein being back. I will say, obviously, given their opponent here in Golden State, they may have to play some run and gun here, and Bojan fits more of that style of play than Achua would. So there is a chance that Bojan plays minutes regardless, just because they need him and his ability to space the floor and shoot against Golden State more than the bigger body of Achua. Now, Golden State does play a bigger lineup at times as well, like Draymond and Looney and Kuminga and all that group. So, I think that Bojan is probably no less than 25 minutes. There's a chance he plays 29 to 30, but game flow dependent, I think, for him, really. So,
I don't know. He the 2 games prior to the New Orleans game, he 22 and 19 minutes with Hartenstein active. So
yeah, I mean, I'm speaking more to what I think the game flow could be. I mean, I don't know. It's possible. It's possible he gets up there. The Prince, yeah, I mean, the playbook will be updated. He'll give his core plays in there. So always posting it in the Discord for you. So you can definitely check that out when it's there. Any final questions here before we get a lineup going? Any final thoughts?
No.
All right. Let's build your lineup here, sir. Plugging in with Keldon.
Yes.
Is Wemby your power forward or your center?
Because
you like
center.
Capella. So.
Yeah, I think we go Capella at center. Mr. Wembanyama. I like Chet.
You like Chet over Wemby?
Or I think Jalen Williams. No. I like Jalen Williams or Chet. I just think it's hard to get Shea into this lineup and like feel comfortable about it. So
all right, 56. Where's your value coming from here tonight? Schroeder?
Probably Dennis Schroeder. Yeah. Probably some Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, James can break out a FanDuel lineup for you. We can pull it up on the screen. We'll build a FanDuel lineup for you, Travis. We don't do it often, but on request, we can build a FanDuel lineup for you. Shooting guard, $5,700 here. Wish we got the Jalen Green news. That'd be nice to have. You want to go Klay? Do you like Klay here? We talked Klay a little bit.
Klay is fine in tournaments.
Okay.
Not like someone I'm like incredibly high on, but someone that I'm
sure. 58.50 for a guard and a util spot here.
58.
You like Trey Jones, so we'll just plug in Trey.
Full game stack mother effers.
And that gives us a $6,700 util, which is sadly $100 off Jabari.
So if you go down, so I think Klay is probably the odd man out there. Sure. You can go down to like Lonnie Walker, or we can do what was I just looking at? Do that. I like that decision too. And then 6,100 for a guard.
Well, if we did Jabari, it's 55. Chris Paul?
5. Definitely benefited from 4 steals in that game.
Okay.
I don't love this next tier. If you plugged Lonnie Walker, like let's just say we plugged $3,900 Lonnie Walker, then you can get Paolo Banchero.
Sure. Works.
Or Jalen Johnson, one of the either or. Who I think both are fantastic plays.
Better spot, I think, for Jalen, right?
But I think better spot for Paolo against Utah, but one's coming off an illness and one's not.
Sure. All right, we'll run this against Utah. I agree. Trey Jones, Dennis Schroeder, Kellin Johnson, Victor Wembanyama, Clint Capella, Lonnie Walker, Jalen Williams, Paulo Banchero. For your DraftKings example lineup, Nico wants to know, what do you think about DFS as a pivot off of Cam J? I think you can go there. Perfectly okay with that. Again, Cam J hasn't done much to wow me here, so certainly can take the ownership and hope that you get some defensive stats out of DFS here tonight. James, let's look at FanDuel. Let's build a FanDuel lineup for our friends here. You got it up, so you drive the ship here. What are we starting?
Freaking FanDuel might be playing more if there's no late,
sooner rather than later.
Might be joining the FanDuel streets if late swap sticks around. I mean, Wemby 11.6 is obviously expensive. Let's take a look. DeJounte 88, pretty good price, right? DeJounte 88.
Yep, that
feels pretty good. What do we got for Kellin Johnson? See, Kellin Johnson's 6,000 on FanDuel, John. You can't even, there's no like reprieve over there. $6,000 for Kellin Johnson. Come on, dude. Just goes to show you what FanDuel is. What do you like for PG2 here? Schroeder, 52. Probably plug and play Dennis Schroeder. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Shooting guard. Jalen Williams, 78 is a great price.
Vassell 76.
Vassell 76. That's pretty expensive. But he's been worth it.
Klay 54, dude.
That is a good price for Klay.
And Lonnie's 47 if you want to go there.
Let's go Klay 54, right?
What? Yeah,
Klay 54. Yeah. That's cheaper than it is on DraftKings, which, very rare.
Cam Johnson is $5,100 here.
Yeah, he's extremely popular.
If you wanted to go there for some value.
Yep.
Hendricks is 45.
Yeah, we didn't play Hendricks.
DFS is 43.
Is DFS also small forward eligible?
He is. He's both.
Because I would want to get we definitely want to prioritize spending up at power forward.
Yeah, he is a small forward eligible player.
What do we got for Capella? 6,000. That's such a good price. What do we got? We have $10,000.
I'll do $6K for Capella. That's fine.
Same. We have 10,000 a player for a shooting guard and a power forward.
What do you have plugged in? Cam J and DFS?
Cam J, DFS, DeJounte, Schroeder, Klay. If we went Wemby here at 11.6, we'd have $9,100 for either a point guard, because we could move DeJounte to shooting guard, or we have Klay.
I think for the tournament's sake, you have to go Steph Curry here, right?
Or we play like J-Dub and then spend up to somewhere else. We have $1,300 to
move off of Dorian Finney-Smith or Cam Johnson then.
That's what I was exactly thinking too. Keldon at 6K, or is that too expensive?
I mean, you like him. I mean, obviously, you need way more of a return on it.
We need 24.5 FanDuel DraftKings points for 5X, and we need 30 FanDuel points for 5X from Keldon. Sadiq 59, Hunter 57.
I don't want Hunter. Hunter's fine.
Okay, let's play. You know what? I'm taking a stand on Kellin Johnson.
All right.
I think that's my stand today.
That's fine. Keldon is. So we got DeJounte Murray, Dennis Schroeder, Klay Thompson, Jalen Williams, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kellin Johnson, Victor Wembanyama, Taylor Hendricks, Clint Capella for your FanDuel lineup, which again could be a sign of things to come here if they take away late swap over on DraftKings for us. So, guys, get your questions in the Discord. Follow us on Twitter. The playbook is out. James and I will be back tomorrow for your No Late Swap Friday. I'm on the playbook for that, so joyous times for that one. We'll catch you later, guys. I gotta go to Sirius XM, so go tune in to Howard and Jim. Sirius XM. I'll be there giving my favorite bets and DFS plays for tonight. We'll talk to you later, guys.